It took some time, but Raya and the Last Dragon is finally free on Disney+. And now that it's summer, your guidance guy finally has some free time to take a look at it. And even though I'm not a reviewer, I will say that Raya is a good movie to check out. The animation is perhaps the best I've seen from the Mouse House. The story is something that's truly meant for these times, and I must say that it's a solid addition to the Disney film collection. I see it as Baby's first apocalyptic slash MacGuffin chaser movie. You know, assuming that Baby hasn't already seen Avengers Endgame. But there's something in this movie that isn't seen as the true danger that it is. It's not the Druin, it's not the selfishness of the people of Kumandra. It's something that Raya herself had to fight against in her own journey. Raya and the Last Dragon is one of those Disney movies that strays away from the classic formula that we're used to. It's not a musical, and even though one can make a case that Raya is a princess in the same way that Pocahontas is, she sure doesn't play the part of the princess role. She's taking a page from the Mad Max Fury Road book and making action herself. And we're also introduced to a dark world where crap is hit the fan, things have gone wrong, and Raya's the one who has to make things right. But in her journey, she has a lot of obstacles in her way. The Druun, the other tribes, and of course Namari. But Raya had another foe that she needed to take down in this story, and it's a foe that we need to be mindful of in our own lives. What is this hidden enemy that I'm talking about? I'm the guidance guy, and your internet school counselor is here to walk you through this. Let's start at the beginning. Kumandra was once a land of unity and harmony, where everyone was able to live peacefully, respecting each other's culture, and with the knowledge that the dragons were responsible for their current state.
Then, everything changed when the
Druun
attacked.
These creatures emerged from the deep, stealing the souls of not just the citizens of Kumandra, but also putting the dragons at risk as well. But thanks to Sisu and the Last Dragons, they were able to take out the Druun once and for all and revive the people of Kumandra. But all that was left of Sisu was an orb that was the embodiment of her magic that had been in the possession of the Heart Tribe ever since. However, the existence of the orb became a source of contention for the other tribes who wanted it for themselves. Raya's father Benga, the chief of the Heart Tribe, had a passion for uniting the people of Kumandra like in the good old days and invites all the tribes to break bread and hopefully find peace. But this opportunity is literally broken when Sisu's orb is shattered, which brings the return of the Druun, which separates the people even further. And from all that, we're hearing some familiar things pop up, aren't we? The fighting over resources that tears people apart and throws them into unending war. Human conflict consuming people and threatening the collective soul of humanity. Despite all the fantasy elements, the story of Raya is way more realistic than we might think originally. All we have to do is turn on the news to see the kind of thing that we see in Disney's latest cinematic offering. And as we see Raya grow up and continue her mission to find Sisu and undo the work of the Druun, we see the world that she inhabits. A desolate world in which self-interest is the only interest and everything is done in the name of self-preservation. Again, we've seen glimpses of this in recent days. Although not as dire as we see in the movie, we've seen examples of people and organizations that are more than willing to ruin the lives of others as long as they aren't in the line of fire. And all of this sets up the stage to reveal the hidden enemy of this movie. I brought this up earlier, but it's worth repeating. Raya is not a typical Disney protagonist. She doesn't fit the traditional Disney princess build. She's continuing the Moana and Elsa trend of the strong female protagonist that don't need no man trope. And although she has a dream, bringing her father back from the grips of the Druun's stony grasp, she's lacking something that just about every other Disney main character has. That upbeat, happy-go-lucky, wide-eyed optimism that fuels their dream and keeps them going through every hardship and challenge. She ain't no Rapunzel singing the day away despite being under house arrest. She's taking her animal sidekick across the desert, brooding like a Batman character. But we know she wasn't always like this. At the beginning of the movie, we see Raya with that trademark indomitable spirit of confidence and hope that things will change. But what happened? Oh yeah, that's right, it was Namari's betrayal that ripped that spirit right out of her. And what was left was a hero that still wants to bring an end to the Druun, still wants to get her father back, but now we have a cynical protagonist that's lost all trust in people. And this is the hidden enemy of the film. Raya had to overcome her own distrust in order to become the hero that would be capable of bringing her land together. Now this is tough to hear because in our culture we tend to lionize the cynical, the character that scoffs at the naive and trusts only in their own instincts. And there's a charm in those kinds of characters. But there's a reason why these types tend to stay likable only in our screens instead of in real life. Because in real life, these people aren't cool. They aren't the type of people that others look up to. They're just miserable human beings. Because this is what happens to cynics. They become pessimists. They can't or don't want to see the positive in a situation. They use the possibility of the negative as a shield to protect themselves from disappointment. But even when they're right, they ain't happy, so what's the point? Also, they're selfish. With Raya, her cynicism got so bad that she didn't even care about saving the world. She just wanted her dad back. And it's that kind of selfishness that got Kumandra into that mess in the first place. We see that selfishness in so many characters in the movie, and yet no one is content. Everyone is either lacking, greedy, or paranoid of those who are looking for revenge. And lastly, and this is the big one, cynicism blocks people off. As Raya begins her journey to reunite the Orb of Sisu, she's essentially alone, and she was determined to keep it that way. But as time went on, she gathered more and more allies, and everyone who joined her played a pivotal part in restoring the orb and saving the world. She was not going to be able to do all that by herself, and that's the most dangerous part of cynicism. It isolates. Just like how Kumandra had isolated itself by region, Raya had blocked her heart off to connecting with people, to believing in people, and trusting in others, the very values that her father had preached when she was young. And it was only when she began to trust again that she was able to set the example for the rest of the world as to how to return everything to its former state. And it applies to us too. We need to be wary of cynicism closing us off as well. Cynicism is often the result of disappointment, like how Raya was disappointed by Namari's intentions. But look at Sisu. She was disappointed by the chief of the Talon tribe, but she still knew that this experience was not the sum total of all human experience. And that's the attitude that we need to adopt. It's not easy, and in some cases it will take time to heal, but we need to remember that you don't have to heal alone. Raya certainly needed help to heal, and don't be afraid to do the same. Because when we see cynicism, we see selfishness. And when we see selfishness, in time, we see nothing but ruin. Hey, thanks for watching, and be sure to do the YouTube thing on your way out. Drop a comment, a like, subscribe if you haven't, and be sure to ring that bell so you know when the next video comes down the pipe. Until next time.